Welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for episode 24 of our new figure showcase, where I'll be doing a quick review / posing session with the newest addition to my collection. And today, I just got Dustin Henderson in from Threezero's ongoing Stranger Things line. Now, this is the third release in the line, following 11 and the Demogorgon, both of which I own. In fact, I just got the Demogorgon last week, which was an okay figure. Can't say I was completely blown away, but it wasn't completely bad. It wasn't really a bad figure at all. However, 11 really did impress me. I think it's without a doubt one of the best sculpts Threezero has delivered, and I was surprised at how much I ended up liking that figure. So hopefully Dustin continues that positive trend, and Lucas should be releasing soon as well. And I do think the kids were the heart of Stranger Things, and obviously the group has continued to change with new members, but Dustin was one of the original 5 kids, and I think he was clearly a pivotal character for the show. And he continues to be one, so I'm glad to have him in hand. As far as Stranger Things, I think we're all waiting to see how the series is going to end now that the Upside Down has almost fully made its way into Hawkins. Although I will say the show does depend on hype a lot, as I haven't really heard many people talking about it recently. Might be due to the binge formula, but it is without a doubt one of the best shows I've seen in recent memory, and also I think one of the best that Netflix has produced. So let's start as we normally do by taking a look at the full package that Threezero is giving us here. And he does come with a lot of accessories, although as is often my complaint, no stand in sight. But beyond the figure himself, we're getting an array of interchangeable hands, a compass, a headset with a control pack, a walkie-talkie, flashlight, Pringles canister, a backpack, and a little dart figure, which is the little Demogorgon dog from Season 2. And I think that's the piece that clearly identifies this as a Season 2 Dustin. So nice overall set here. As usual, let's start off by taking a closer look at the accessories, and we'll start with the headset. It's a nice piece with a very thin wire leading down to the battery pack. There's nice detailing here, including some silver on the headpiece itself, and there is some flex to it, which I think is going to be key to get it to fit on over Dustin's sculpt. Next up, his walkie-talkie, and again, it's a straightforward piece, but it's nicely painted and has some really good detail work around the buttons and the antenna, as well as the strap for the figure to hold the walkie-talkie with his hand. Next up, he comes with a really small translucent compass. There's really good detail work here as well, especially for such a small piece. You're getting a nice translucent cover over the compass arrow, and then some red markings along the edges, as well as a nice magnifying glass below the compass itself. So a lot of nice detail work here for something that's really small. Next up, you're getting an oversized old style flashlight. Very 80s feel with a wood handle and the nice on and off switch leading to a huge light. And again, here they're providing a nice translucent panel over the light bulb. So it's another well thought out accessory. Then you do get a can of Pringles, although it's missing the S here. Not sure if that was a mistake by Threezero or just an attempt to avoid some kind of licensing issue, but it's a nice piece with good print along the surface of the container and a nice plastic cap, so it's a great recreation for the snack. Next up, his backpack, which is a nice light blue jean texture, and it does have working straps so you can tighten the pack on Dustin's back and make it fit better. And all the zippers work, so you can definitely use the backpack to hold all the accessories when they're not in use on the figure. So nice added plus. And then the final accessory is Dart, in that second step of his transformation, and it's a really small piece, so I will say again, Threezero did a great job with the detail work here, as well as the color schemes and the paint applications. It's definitely an important accessory for this version of Dustin, since Dart was kind of his obsession early on in the season, until he unfortunately started eating cats. But great ad from Threezero, and great work on, again, all these really small accessories. So that's actually a lot to like here. But next up, let's look at the sculpt. And I think if there's going to be any issue people have with this figure, it's going to be here. First thing I will say, compared to the proto shots, it does look better. In the prototype images, the sculpt looked extremely soft, and some of it did carry over to the final product. But there is a little more detailing and definition here. So paint apps, including the eyes, all look great. Hair is okay too, and I like the molded piece, although maybe could benefit from just a little bit more detail and slightly better paint apps. And then the hat is permanently affixed to the sculpt, and it's good. It's got some good color variations, and there's some good texture on the back. So I'm going over all the positives because I think the big hit on the sculpt is the likeness. I just don't think it's there. There's something off, and I wish I could tell you exactly what it was, but Dustin has a very distinctive appearance, and I just don't think Threezero captured it. So on the sculpt side, not nearly as impressive as the 11. Moving on to his clothing, this is all pretty impressive. The jean jacket has some great detail work with the plaid pattern around his collar, as well as all the stitch work and the buttons along the length of it. His t-shirt also looks great with the camp logo on it, and then Threezero did another great job with the corduroy pants with some nice detailing and some working pockets that can actually hold some items like the power pack for the headset. So really impressed with the clothing portion of these. What I do really like here as well are his sneakers. First of all, they look very retro, and second of all, they're dirty, which is a great detail. I always hate when figures come with accessories or pieces of clothing that look too clean, because it just takes away from the attempt of realism here. So overall, really nice work. So final thoughts or total thoughts on this figure as we look at some more poses. I'll say I'm really happy with him. From a figure standpoint, it's a nice addition to the series, and he does lend himself to posing well, particularly with all of the accessories. I mean, there are a ton of options, and once you throw in Dart, you really can't just use your imagination to try to get him into those good poses. So, no figure's perfect, right? And first issue I had with him, and we'll leave the sculpt for the end, but first issue I had with him is that unlike 11, the base body they gave him does feel a little bit loose. Definitely lends itself to posing, but at some points it's hard to get him to stand straight by himself without falling. Not sure if that has something to do with him being top heavy once you add the backpack or whatnot, but it did feel like his ankle joints were also a little loose. So again, works great when you're trying to pose him, but not that well when you want him to hold that pose. So for companies like Threezero, a stand would be a great addition to these to remedy some of those potential issues. Still, not sure why they aren't providing those, but oh well. Next negative, wrist pegs. I told you guys in my recent reviews I've had some bad luck with pegs. Here they're good and solid, but the peg into the hand is a little tight, so just be careful when you're trying to swap out hands, and take your time. I was super delicate here just to avoid any potential breaks, and fortunately I was able to avoid any headaches. Now with both 11 and the Demogorgon, I had the pegs split apart. It was an easy fix, but you want to avoid that as much as possible. And also, I wish Threezero would provide extra pegs. I don't know why they don't. We get extra pegs with Hot Toys, Damn Toys, and even some third-party companies, but Threezero and companies like Exo6 just don't provide them. And it's a shame because it would be an easy accessory to include that would give you some peace of mind if something were to happen. But all these in the grand scheme of things are pretty minor issues. So this figure would almost be a home run if it wasn't because of the sculpt. And I made a point of highlighting all the positives because Threezero did a good job. But it doesn't make up for the fact that I just don't think the likeness is there. Maybe it's the eyes, or listen, there's some people that just have a difficult facial likeness to capture. I think we've seen that even with Hot Toys, so maybe that was the case here. Or maybe I'm wrong. If you think I'm completely off base, go ahead and let me know. I just wish I could tell you exactly where the sculpt went off track, but I don't really know. This is just something where my opinion, it's my opinion too, but I will say this, it somehow doesn't detract from the figure overall, which is strange to say, but I do like everything else here. Threezero did a great job with the accessories, clothing, tailoring, posability, etc., etc. And maybe that's a testament to Threezero that even with the weak sculpt, everything else here is so good that it's making me overlook a really big flaw. I do think the highlight for me, though, is starting to see him posed up with the other figures in the line. Seeing him standing next to 11, you really start to see the line taking shape. I think once we add Lucas into the set, he's going to really stand out. This is definitely a collection that's going to benefit from having all the kids together, and they do pose nicely and in scale. Even with the Demogorgon, and this is something I alluded to in the review of that figure, having the kid standing in front of the creature almost helps to elevate that figure as well. And he does look good in that background, like that powerful force hunting them down. So I'm happy with the way the line is starting to take shape, and fingers crossed Threezero continues their efforts here. It would be annoying if we don't get anything else because the line is just incomplete at this point. As I mentioned before, they did tease both a Will and Mike figure, so hopefully we'll see them soon. Although with the year almost out, I'm guessing we'll get the pre-order announcement early next quarter. And at least if we get those two characters, there'll be a sense of closure with the line. Personally, I hope they go beyond that, but let's see what happens. I feel like if we look at Threezero's history with Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, it's been a trickle of figures, but they've gone pretty deep in lines, and have even given us alternate versions of some characters that they've already released. Personally, I would have loved a set of the 4 kids in their Ghostbusters costumes from Season 2, maybe as some kind of exclusive, but it's yet to be determined what the future of the line is. There's a ton of potential here, so hopefully Threezero does take advantage. So that's it for the look at Dustin Henderson from Threezero's Stranger Things line. Again, I'm really happy with the figure. Not top 5 of the year at all, but really fun figure overall. And as always, let me know your thoughts. I'm curious if you think I'm being too harsh on the sculpt, or maybe you're going to think I'm being too forgiving on the package overall. But always curious to hear what you're thinking. And as always, thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.